Women Invest in Women, Season 1, is brought to you by the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, The Next Chapter, Black Women Matter, Pin AI, and NetHub.
This episode is brought to you by Women Invest in Women, TEC, Overlay Capital Good, Pin AI, Black Women Matter, NetHub, John Devoy Bar and Restaurant, and the Kitty Rose Lifestyle. Partner with us and underwrite an episode.
Welcome to Women Invest in Women. We are here in New York City. We are so excited to be recording 3 episodes here in New York, which is my home city. Used to hang out here all the time with my grandmother in Harlem, 135th and Lenox. That's where we're from, baby. Love it. So I am so excited because we've got an amazing guest here today. Her name is Miss Aleathia Brown. Hey, sis, how are you?
Greetings. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here.
This already is exciting.
Yes. I'm glad that you are so excited to be here. So for the studio audience and for everyone out watching, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
I am a visual artist and a storyteller on and off the canvas because I perform poetic storytelling. I am an art educator, so I do art workshops for adults primarily now. And there are so many things entrepreneurially that I do in and out of behind the scenes with artist development, with other visual artists and mentoring. So there's many hats, but they're all driven under the guise of art.
I love that. So I ask all of my guests, what is something that most people may not know about you? An interesting fact.
An interesting fact? I love dancing as much as I love painting.
Any type of dance or just whatever makes your body move.
House music kind of inspires the movement because it gives me the freedom to abstractly move through space.
I love that. So I love the fact that you mentioned that you have multiple hats underneath the guise of being an artist. And I feel that a lot of women, especially a lot of Black women, we have multiple streams of income. We wear multiple hats. How do you juggle that? How do you sort of think about what's the next thing that I want to do? What's the thing that I want to put on my plate? And then how do you oftentimes say no? Because I think sometimes we have a little trouble saying no because we're so excited about the work and the passion that we have.
So as I've aged up, I've had to learn to honor my no as much as my yes. So calendars and notebooks are my Bible because that's what keeps me able to see what's ahead and what's around the corner and see what's overwhelming and what's underwhelming so I can kind of navigate. Most of the time when it comes down to where I'm curating myself, and that's the difference. When I started, I was taking anything and everything to build, but then when I got to a certain point, the arc was now curate your life so that you can pick and choose the areas that you want and need that tell the story consistently, cohesively. So if I'm telling a story and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, I have to be able to have the continuity of knowing where that story is changing or growing or building. So that stops me in my tracks.
I love that, the idea that you get to curate your life. And how did you know it was the right moment and time that, you know what, I've gotten to a place in my artistry, I've created enough of brand name, brand awareness, people know who I am, and I feel really comfortable to just say, I can now curate my life. And there's a freedom in being able to say that, right?
Well, for me, it's the divine mistakes that are blessings that teach you how many times you fall on your face before you get it. And then there are mentors that I've had to be under, and there are other people who guide me and give me feedback on the things that I had to, in my quiet space, reflect and then replenish and then restore how I'm moving so that it made sense. So all the mistakes and mishaps have divinely shaped how I had to move and redirect.
I love that. Can you give us an example of a divine mistake that ended up being a blessing?
So one of the biggest ones was I had an opportunity at New York City Transit to curate an exhibition in the lobby of one of their main buildings in Brooklyn. They had all this media and they had all these things that they put together for me, and me being late because I was doing too much and not knowing how to honor my no, overwhelmed, I got there too late. And all of the artists suffered also because they weren't able to get featured because they were waiting for me, the curator of this. Wow. And the whole deal, after all the planning, went down the toilet. I cried for months because I knew I was at fault for what I did, bringing people together and not. So I vowed, one, never to do that again. And two, to really look at what being on time requires.
Wow.
Because on showtime, and the show must happen no matter what, all those little things that you still try to get to do don't matter if you don't make it there.
Yeah.
So I had to really take a deep dive at myself, and I didn't like being cast as not being on time. So that was a character flaw that I couldn't live with, and the only way to change that is to change me so other people could speak that without me having to say it.
Yeah.
So when I got to turn the page and let other people see that there was some growth and some development, they began to say, well, she's not playing.
I love that. So you talked about having this art, all these artists that you had curated and the things that you were doing. How did you repair relationships? I'm curious about that.
Well,
you know?
The good thing is that I had at least a decade or more with each of them, so they already knew my history. This was the first and only time anything like that had ever happened.
Yeah.
So, and they had benefited from many things that I had put together for them as well as myself. So I guess looking at that,
The totality,
scales,
yeah. And there was also grace and empathy maybe for just the humanness of
they saw I was broken. They saw I didn't just step in and act like it was no big deal. I could not stop crying.
Wow.
So that empathy came from, all right, how do we kick her when she's down?
Yeah.
If we could see she really is hurting from this.
Yeah.
So it was over time. It was over time.
Oftentimes people don't think about art and entrepreneurship coming together. How do you sort of marry those two things?
Oh, and it's interesting you call the word marriage, because I actually married my art. 2020, had a wedding ceremony and an officiating of it.
Wait, let's time out and go into that before we go to that question. Yes. Talk to me about what did it mean to actually marry your art and have a ceremony. Like you said, you had an officiator and everything. Yes.
So I took a vow, and this came from childhood. When I was in Catholic school, we were practicing for our first communion, and the priest had said, do you know the difference between a promise and a vow? And in my 5-year-old mind, I thought, well, that's what I did with God, sending me here on the assignment being an artist. So I said to myself then, if I live to be 50, and I'm still here on this earth making art, I will marry my art, showing the vow that I made that no man, woman, or child will ever come between the assignment I was given, which was to create.
Wow.
And so I actually married my art at 47.
I think we do this, right? Is this what I think I learned this in New Orleans, the kids do this nowadays.
Yes.
Wow, so you really kept that covenant, actually, is what it really sounds like. It was a you understood that you had a divine calling and you went forth into the world and you have done this covenant. So I love that. Yeah. You mentioned having a mentor, and I'm also going to assume that you might have some mentees.
Yes.
So when you're thinking about mentorship, as it relates to your relationship as a mentor to a mentee, can you talk a little bit about how you build that relationship? Do you tell them about the practice of the covenant? I'm so like intrigued about the covenant and having this vow and this marriage ceremony.
Well, again, I pull from the human part of us that's frail. The things that we all have in common is the failures. Because most people look at the success and then get intimidated by the fact that you seem so powerful and so put together. And if they can see the real parts of you that are layered that had to become that. I didn't start out that way.
That's right.
That's where the journey starts really bonding. And I've had a whole host of mentoring experiences in my journey as an artist and as an educator, because I come from a family line of educators and storytellers as well. Part of that was people will always ask, how do you do so-and-so, and how did you get to such and such, and how did you get that opportunity? And things really like a magnet, right? You draw them in because in my prayer, in my meditation, in my conversations with the Creator about the things that I know are coming to me, that spirit talk is always why I get to say to people in a stronger tone that I know what I know, because there's a bigger force than me that's coming through me. And most of the time, it's me telling the backstory of how I led myself to that from the things that were happening. And then there are things you can't explain. And then when they come to this peak, people go, ooh. And so the trust is really a lot to do with why people will take those directions that I'm giving to the head, because really, in the end of the day, most of the time, people are looking for somewhere that they can sort of sink into and then find their voice. And they don't know it divinely, but most of the time, once they start seeing the layers peel back, they start going, oh, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was trying to get to and didn't understand or didn't have an understanding more times than not. And for me, building those trust relationships really came from the conversation. And there's art in talking, because we find where the common place is between all of us. And no matter where we are on this journey, from the beginning to the center to the end, we all have a connectedness. And so tapping into that a lot of times really gets me to build up. And a lot of the people that I have mentored, we still stay in touch over the years. I do believe that there's a time and place that they should go on to the next level, because we get to an expiration date no matter what, and everything has a cutoff point.
You know, as you were talking about the artistry of talking and the artistry of words, it reminds me of when I used to interview Stacey Abrams, and I'll talk to you about that interview in a second, right when we get back from our break.
What if your brand could travel the world, be seen by millions, and align with a movement that changes lives? Introducing the Women Investing in Women Global Tour, directed by visionary media leader Kitty Rose and moderated by the empowering Kwamara Thompson. Our series reaches 4.7 million homes through broadcast television and is streamed on all major podcast platforms. That means your product, your service, your message, right in front of an audience of buyers and culture shapers. We're launching during Essence Fest weekend and heading to 10 cities around the world. From the US to Jamaica, Toronto, Spain, Argentina, and yes, even Africa starting 2026. Your brand goes global with us. This is more than media. It's a movement. This is women investing in women. Want in? Limited spots. Global reach with real impact. Contact us today to advertise with purpose.
We are back to Women Invest in Women. Again, we have our guest, Miss Aleathia Brown. My God, my apologies. Aleathia Brown.
No worries,
And we were talking about the artistry of words and the artistry of talking and conversation. And I mentioned that I had interviewed Stacey Abrams, and she also talked a lot about the artistry of words and being able to converse. And I had never thought about that, but there's something just beautiful about words in general. I love going into the dictionary. I love going into the encyclopedia. I guess I'm dating myself when I'm talking about encyclopedias.
I'm with you on that, so we're in that same place. Yes.
So talk a little bit more about how you just tap into the beauty of words, and you know, when you have these conversations, and even now I can tell when I'm speaking with you, you have such a lyrical way of saying things. I can actually visualize the words that you are putting out there.
To me, it's everything, all things lead to that one road, art, right? And the beginning of things are the creation. Words are art, words are creation. They also put us in a different place when we connect with each other around those words. And I too, as a child, one, because I was severely shy. So I spent a lot of quiet time in my encyclopedias. They were in my room in the house, so everybody had to come to my space in order to really ingest them. I spent a lot of time in the Schomburg Library, so I was always around words. And then I come from a line of storytellers. So I sat when I was a little girl under the kitchen table and listened to the grown-ups talk, and words really danced around my head like paintings, even before I understood how those connections can really be a force together. And one of my cousins, she forced me every year from my 9th birthday through high school to keep a journal and then to read the journal every other year to see where I was and to see where I am. And so I, to this day, keep tons of notebooks. There are notes for poetic things, there are notes for where I'm going, there are thoughts, there are private things, and all of those things start really building language, and I keep a thesaurus and a dictionary and different sections of dictionaries. So for me, words are a powerful way to express colorfully.
Yes, yes. And I'm making an assumption now that you also believe that words can manifest. So
Oh, they do.
That we're careful around whether we put positive words
That's
out in the
right.
atmosphere or whether we speak negative words. And we often find, or at least I think as women sometimes, we speak a lot of negative on ourselves.
Yes.
Because there's so much self-doubt and our inner voice can
But
be
that's
so
learned.
critical, right? Yes, and it is learned, yeah.
Because as a child, innocently, you don't think that way from the beginning. So there was a point at which that day before you became that person where you started embodying the negative energy when you didn't come from that. So those are conditions that happen over time like scars. And we have to learn how to cleanse them.
Yes, yes.
So I think
that.
really it's a powerful thing I took from the things that happened to me as a child and sort of embellished with that the things that we do as an adult, because most of us still carry our childhood like it's in our backpack, almost like a badge of honor, instead of releasing it like it's baggage that you need to really discard. So for me, I am constantly evolving and looking at how that rearview mirror is teaching me to look forward.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you, do you still read the journals every other year or take a time to reflect and like, man, this is where I am now, this is where I'm thinking about it. And also maybe just take some time and be like, you know what, I actually did that. I can like exhale. I've done some amazing things in my lifetime or this year.
It's funny because I whenever I'm cleaning and doing some extra thing around cleaning, like getting rid of things, and I find I see these little notebooks or little notes that I have on other things, and I'll sit and reflect and kind of take it in. But it does happen not deliberately like it used to, but organically. So it'll stop me in my tracks, and I'll be like, wow, I was thinking that way 15 years ago. I'll say something in some writing that I made that's directly in place with what I'm doing right now, and it just shows the consistency of where I've been all along and where I'm heading. So that'll sometimes even make me go back to some of the projects and things that I put on the shelf and said that I need to get to and didn't, or got distracted and need to come back to. So the notebooks also keep me in check as well.
I love that. So as you're going through this journey of life, your entrepreneurial journey, your artistry, this world has so many distractions. How do you stay, what's your advice to stay focused on what it is that you're actually trying to do and sort of, you know, woosah all of that negative energy or all of that distracting energy that can come around?
First and foremost, having self-time. Having the ability to be selfish enough to have quiet time, whether it be movement meditation or still meditation, just finding that place to recenter yourself, because it's not humanly possible to be always on and to always be around things that immerse you. You have to really be able to shed. So for me, I have to have that quiet time, whether it be in the bathroom, not because I'm using it, because that's the place I don't have a lot electronic devices and people will leave you alone. And you know, as a child, my mother used to say, one day if you get a house, get a bathroom with a little bit of house, because I stay in a bathroom for hours at a time, because it's like a place of serenity and meditation, and it allows me to be able to look at the things I couldn't when all the other noise is around me.
That is so funny that you say that. I spend a lot of time in the bathroom too. In fact, it is usually one of the first things I look at whenever I get into a hotel or Airbnb. I'm like, okay, I gotta have
the
a
sanctuary.
bathroom. It's totally the sanctuary, right? And and to your point, I'm always thinking, I'm reflecting. It's like, why do I have such amazing thoughts in the shower?
Water has electricity, and the power of that water, because we are made of water, we have that. That's the balance thing. That is by divine order. We are attracted to things that pull us.
That's a really great point, by divine order, and that obviously water. We are 90-some% of water. Yeah, I love that idea. So we've talked a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, and I would love to talk a little bit about the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. So if we can get there, and then after this answer, I think we are going to a break.
So the ugly for me is being able to see the beauty in the ugly. And so for me, for the longest, I looked at the ugliness that people have in their spirit, in their mind, what they carry. And I had to really shed from that, because I had this wide-eye view at things. Even as a child, really couldn't understand how people operated without integrity, without a soulfulness.
Yeah.
And so having to look at people where they're at and then see myself in a different order. Like, okay, my focus is, where am I at and where am I going, and what is my assignment? And really being able to remind myself that the assignment is what matters when all else is done. So the good, bad, and the ugly is being able to put all of that on a dish, just like you eat food. You have your vegetables, you have your starch, and all of this comes together.
And it's all balanced, right? And that's how you do your balanced meal, and we ingest that. I love that. And you talked a lot about energy and everything that we need. So I want to go into more about talking about energy right after this break.
Community partnerships is a gathering of like-minded people who are interested in maintaining the legacy of their ancestors through arts and culture, and having conversations on a monthly basis with what I call art practitioners is just something that I'm wedded to. And again, Harlem Arts Alliance is the vehicle that we use to do that work.
Community partnerships are essential, I believe, for building long-term relationships and understanding of the community and the art. I think that that is the core of how we can really sustain the presence of Black and brown artists, by being engaged consistently and joyfully.
Community partnership is all about creating legacy.
Community partnerships mean to me stronger communities.
Community partnerships mean strength.
The partnership is connection. Fostering a connection to be able to reach out to run an idea by a friend who can then connect you to others.
Community partnerships mean a lot. It means collaboration. It means connecting with one another to create something bigger than themselves.
One word that describes how I feel when I leave these meetings:
Empowered. Inspiration.
Inspired. Renewed.
Inspired. Inspired.
And we're back. Women invest in women. I'm so excited. We just talked a little bit about the good, the bad, the ugly of our entrepreneurship journey. And what you said was so profound around making sure that you had the ugly, the good, the bad, all up on your plate, because it's a balanced dish that we have to ingest. Yes. And then I started talking a little bit about this idea of energy. And, you said something about you learning to see the beauty in the ugliness of people. And That really touched me because I think that many people are broken in this world, and oftentimes broke people break people, and so you have this cyclicness of negativity and just like negative energy that's being cycled around. How do you protect that? And still stay focused and still see the beauty of everything. I think the more that we can talk about love and beauty, I think the better off we'll be as a society.
Well, you have to really take a deep dive at what your understandings are, because for the longest I focused on overstanding, understanding, but the understanding is a deeper, more spiritual place. When I went through periods of breaks, and that's just from life happening and challenges unanticipated happening, and had to look at what the power of strength is, and it's being able to connect to your spiritual energy, which is a higher dimension than what your physical energy is, and the experiences that you have. When I started tapping into my spiritual powers in terms of understanding how I belong here and how my expiration date is not until it's divinely present. And so I could either sink or swim, and each time something happened, I had to look at it on a panoramic view instead of with that tunnel vision, that there's reasons why I've been removed from something or brought to something. So even the same thing, when I look at other people who have gone through some of their torments and tortures, how can they not be the way they are? Because they haven't really done the work.
That's right.
And they haven't really had an understanding, which is an evolved place that you have to get to. And that comes from having something more than the vanity of belonging here. There's a sanity that comes from an understanding, and being able to get into the meat and potatoes of that has a lot to do with putting that alone time as a thing as special and important as eating.
Yes, I love that. It's nourishment.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love the understanding versus the understanding, and just really thinking about the evolvedness of your being. And you mentioned your physical being and vanity, and then going inside and thinking about spirituality. So along those lines, as women, our hair oftentimes says a lot about our identity. It can be a vain way of us going around. It could also be spiritual, the way that we think about our hair. We just had National Crown Day, and everyone says, Kumar, your hair is always going up to the sky. I'm like, yes, Queen rise. But yeah, I would love to hear about your thoughts around hair, and what are some of the work that you're doing around hair and no hair community.
So I gave the name of my initiative Unveiled Unlocked, and this summer is the 12th year. So I started out with talking about hair freedom with those who are in the community, men, women, and children, namely those of color, because they are the most underrepresented in the sea of people who are verbally assaulted sometimes about how they show up. But what happens about hair that really educated me on my journey even with that was, even people with a head full of hair can be hair free, because it's your identity around a perception, a concept. So you can be hair free and have a head full of hair, or have no hair and not be hairless. And the reason why I say it that way is because one has got a negative connotation and the other one is uplifting. Your hair going up is an antenna connecting with the universe. That's why the power of that has such an energy with it, because you're bringing those forces together. When you cut your hair off, you lose 5 pounds of weight, because the hair has DNA, and DNA has memory. And so the memories of the things that you've been going through while you had that hair growing out of your head have a lot of connectedness to why you're carrying negative weight, which is why you feel lighter when you wash your hair or cut your hair.
That's true.
You're actually taking the weight off. And so I do a lot of things around educating people so they have a better standing when it comes down to where they aren't. Not where they are, because where we aren't has a lot to do with why we're not growing or evolving in so many different ways, like looking at somebody who is of a certain size, a shape, or how their show up is, has a lot to do with where you're not complete, because you can't accept what you don't understand or what you see for the first time. And you're easy to ridicule somebody for showing up differently. So Unveiled Unlocked for me really has to do with beyond, whether it be about hair, or something else down the road. It's really getting to our purpose so we can fully show up on what we're here for, because all of us are here with and for a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Unveiled Unlocked, actually, before you go there, when you were talking, it also everything you say resonates with me, by the way. But this reminds me, maybe, I don't know if anyone in the audience knows, but I used to have locks that went down to my butt that I had grown for 9 years, and I cut them off, and first of all, I didn't even realize how heavy they were. And I put them in this big Ziploc bag, and I kept them actually for 20 years. People were like, why are you keeping your locks? And I was like, because that's me.
Journey.
It's my journey, it's me. And so when you say like your hair has a DNA and it lives and it breathes and it has a personality, I really felt that. I didn't know what I was feeling, but I felt like I had to keep this. So I just wanted to, to just say that, just to say like it totally resonated what you were saying. So Unveiled Unlocked started 12 years ago. What are some of the iterations that you've seen it go through? What can we look at going forward as it relates to Unveiled Unlocked?
So Unveiled Unlocked has been a movement. I have an array of men and women who support that journey as well, from hair to hair free. Some of them have grown their hair back in, some of them shave it still, some of them have lost their hair to illness, and we do a lot of platforms poetically with music on stages. So there are some of us in the group who are poets and storytellers in that genre. So we use that platform at Harlem Week, which is where we launched it, and every year I'm on those stages. So this year I'll be on Grant's Tomb stage August 10th with Jazzmobile as a collaboration with the music and the poetic storytelling. And I'm always looking at how we are putting the message forward, because music is a way universally to speak to an array of people of all walks without having the stigmas or the stains that we carry. So when we get to put it on a platform using the art, in that we give grace to what we're talking about in a difficult way, makes it more inviting. Because usually when I come off stage, someone will come up to me and say something that touched or tapped into something they were silently in a war with themselves. And this gave permission for them to just show up and be freer about their show up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a power in that, right? When you are on the stage, and it's a power that you have to be careful with, I think, sometimes.
Yes, very mindful.
Yeah, very mindful. Can you just talk a little bit about what that feels like when people come up to you and you realize, wow, we've shared a vulnerable moment together?
It's affirming what I came to do was bigger than me. So most of the time, you think you're doing something from a vanity standpoint when you're actually doing it from that assignment. Again, it's always coming full circle, because the wow I get is when someone says something not knowing what my intent was, but exactly what it was. And so to me, that's affirmation that I'm on the right track, and I'm doing the work, and I have the impact to prove that this is really what they needed beyond me. So for me, that's more than any other praise can give you, because that's the real work on the ground, when someone is telling you their story and it finishes your story.
Yes, wow. Okay, we are getting a word today, y'all. We are getting a word. Let's do it. Yes, 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 yes. We will be right back.
Today is the beautiful, glamorous, you already know her. So what do judges look like? And then you're coming to New York?
Yes. Next year I'm coming to the U.S.
Okay. The Bronx native is in the building.
We are out here. Thank you so much. Getting on the bus alone scared me because I have underlying health issues.
Have you guys been open the whole 7 months? Did you have to close?
We went through a lot, but we had to follow the procedure.
some more Latin flavor. And I couldn't have done it without my start here at Bronx Net.
We're so proud of you. Thank you for what you do, Miss Kitty Rose.
Great. Thank you for what you've done tonight and your professionalism and the way you engage the audience. I can't wait to see the footage.
And welcome back to Women Invest in Women. Thank you all for being here. And again, thank you to our guest, Miss Brown, who is definitely giving us so many beautiful words.
Thank you.
Not only are you clearly an artist, period, in and out, but just a beautiful soul. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for blessing our stage and our show.
Thank you.
So you mentioned a lot about, mentor, mentee, and Unveiled Unlocked and the group of people that are a part of that movement. So I would love to talk a little bit more about community and the importance of community, especially when we are out here as entrepreneurs doing the work, doing our calling.
You cannot exist without community, because really it's the grounding of our feeling loved and safe and restoring ourselves, understanding that when you feel community, you also want to preserve it. You also want to protect it. You also want to make sure that it keeps growing. So I remember from childhood, we didn't lock the doors in our building on the weekends. Everybody went in the building from house to house, and the floors where the kids lived, we played in the hallway. And at holidays, my mother would have these theme parties on the different floors. So I grew up in community and around community, and I'm still very much a part of that everywhere I move. And when I moved to the Bronx from Harlem, the same thing happened. We brought community energy wherever we went. We grew up with block parties, and you're seeing it now by these Stoop series that are starting to go on. They're bringing black back in terms of how we grew up. When we were segregated, we had to be connected.
Yeah.
We had to be unified. And so all of those elements really taught us how our divine energy really is interconnected.
Yeah.
And it's so important and it's so vital. So artist community to me, because it brings the untalkable in a talkable way. It allows people to come together and share their stories. A lot of times when I'm doing exhibitions with my work, someone will come up in front of my artwork and start telling a story. And for me, that's when the work is finished, not when I sign it.
Yeah.
It's those stories that they are sharing from their experiences, their lived moments. And they see something in my work that maybe I don't even see, because I'm out of this world when I'm painting, and I allow myself the freedom to be able to do that, sort of transport to another place, because that's really, for me, what makes the work timeless, when it's not just in the here and now, and I allow myself a surrender. And that's what brings also the connectedness with other people, is they will feel that. And oftentimes I put numbers and colors together to tell stories and messages, because that's beyond this. This realm has so much superficiality because it's about capitalism and not a divine space where we're growing as beings that are on other dimensions. There are 9 dimensions we don't even tap into, just like beauty has layers, like skin has layers.
Yeah.
And if you look at how things are really brought to us, there are so many things that are coming and going, telling us the same story, but we keep missing it. And so the job of the artist is to kind of bring us back to a center and be able to see the simplest thing, conversation, the simplest thing, but it's complex because it's layered.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you said interconnectedness, and this idea that your art continues to live and breathe in the other people who are interacting with it, and they create their stories and they have their own narratives, and then of course they go to whoever else in the community, and it kind of just like lives in this beautiful ecosystem, I guess, of lack of
No, that's
word.
right on time, because the ecosystem is really what keeps regenerating itself, why we're still here, in spite of some of the other things that we do that distract us. The ecosystem and an artist living in a community really helps the ecosystem continue, because we're going to look at things and take things from our surrounding and give back. And that give back is also what gives inspiration to others to not take for granted what's right in front of us, the simplest little things.
Yeah. You mentioned the 9 dimensions and that, here we are in this physicality. It's more of a capitalist society.
Mm-hmm.
And, I often say that I live in 3 currencies, which is love, empathy, and knowledge sharing. If you had to think about currencies that make a community strong and thriving, what would those currencies be?
I look at color as currency because color is movement, color is energy, and the space that it allows us, we ingest food is color, what we're wearing is color, how we think around us because we look at nature. When you look at the trees, the water, the sky, you're ingesting color all day long. Spiritually, it's telling you things about healing, and no one ever gets tired or bored with a sunset or a sunrise. Nobody ever says, oh, I'm tired of that.
Yeah.
And no matter how big and brawly someone is or how petite and feminine someone is, everyone can ingest the ooh and wow of that.
It's so true. It's so true.
Anywhere on the globe.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The amount of sunrises and sunsets that are on my social media feed.
Right. They never get boring.
Everybody always is putting that on. So it's a really great point. And then, of course, the colors, right? The different colors that the world goes through. Moon is another thing that I see a lot of people love to take pictures of the sky.
Because they're fascinated with the unknown. Until you have a connection with something, you really are always fascinated with how does it exist? What do I get from it? What am I ruled by? Because moon, water, we are water, right? So the connectedness is ongoing, even when we're not technically savvy about why it does what it does.
Yeah.
So it's important for me to always keep in that place, and also to remind people, even in the work that I'm doing. I just did a painting workshop on this weekend on glass with a group of adults, and they had a blast, and I took photos of sunsets from a photographer friend of a friend and had that as their reference, and then said, but don't be married to the colors in that. Use the colors that speak to you, that are in the place that your head is in, and then build from that just as an example to play with color.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm thinking about which direction I actually want to go in right now. And I'm going to go in this, since you just mentioned you did this class to adults. And when you first introduced yourself, you also said that now that you've gotten older, that you're also working more with adults. Can you talk a little bit about the difference in working with adults, senior citizens, and maybe, our youth? Or are we finding connectedness in working with all of the different generations?
Well, for most of my teaching career, I would be in specialty workshops with both intergenerational groups as well as children and adults and seniors in particular. And what I found is that there's always a connectedness between the 2 generations, because everyone starts and ends with creation. And so being able to tap into showing them how to use the tools, which are the paintbrush and the pencil and the colors, that also gets them awakening another part that might have been asleep. And so for me, I chose to, as I'm in my twilight years, work with adults, because if they're not healthy, going back into the homes that they live and basically nurture their families, or for the lack of a better word, not nurturing their families because they're not replenishing, is really vital. So I started looking at it as for selfish reasons in a good way, that I give you the space to really come back home fully in that woo side. You're going to be more productive, but you're going to have a more productive household as well. We put the emphasis on educating children as if the adults don't still need to be educated. And as long as you breathe, you still need to learn.
Yes.
And you need to grow, and you need to water your plants, and your plants are your minds and your thoughts and all of these energies that give you a whole other cycle of being. And so whenever they go home and they come back telling me about the stories of what happened when they brought this work that they're now proud of, and that they didn't know that they had the skill set to be able to do, that profoundly is showing me again how the work that I'm doing divinely is affirmed, that it has purpose, and that it's really about getting people to get out of their own way so that you can really answer the calling that you have.
I love that. That's beautiful. Being a lifelong learner, that's so important. And going back healed into your household so you can continue to have a healing household is amazing. We're going to be back right after this break.
Almost Sade Skincare takes pride in using natural, nurturing skincare products to make New Yorkers glow and love their skin. For the past 30 years, we have tailor-made skincare regimens for people and their unique skin type. Now everyone can enjoy this service for free. All skin types, all ages. Your skin, your match. Simply go to SadeSkincare.com and sign up now for your free consultation.
And welcome back to Women Invest in Women. So this is a show called Invest. Yes. And the part of investing is also the importance of owning. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, in your world, in your mind, I know you love words, what does ownership mean to you? And how do maybe you as a community, as a movement, think about the importance of owning?
Ownership is one. The first word that came to mind was responsibility. But the other part of that is also being able to see on a bigger scale than just the fact that when you own something, you also are responsible for other people in a wider array than you can even see. A lot of times I've had situations where, because I own the responsibility of being a caretaker about community, the things that I'm saying or the samples and examples that I'm setting are setting the tone for other people who are in a quiet war with themselves. I've had situations where total, to me, strangers came up to me telling me something that I said to them 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that are now doing something about the thing that they were struggling with, and had no idea the trajectory on something that I said having on them. But because I live what I'm speaking, they see, okay, she really is about her purpose. She's really doing the same thing years later. This past weekend, I was in Brooklyn at a house music fest in Commodore Barry Park, and 3 different people came up to me saying, you've been at this for a while. I've been watching you. Even before we had the internet, I've watched you, and you've been more consistent than anybody I know. How can I speak something if I don't live it? And so for me, ownership is living in your path, but being true to yourself so that the example that you're actually making is setting a tone. So for me, I'm always looking at myself in the mirror. I love Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror because it really does say you have to look at yourself before you can start talking about somebody else's thing or not thing. And for me, all of those measurements keep me growing because I don't ever feel like I'm comfortable in where I'm at. I stay uncomfortable so that I can stay relevant to what I'm supposed to be doing, which is growing, so that I can expire and leave that legacy.
So growth is in the uncomfortability moments. And then you said so that you can expire and leave that legacy. So that is obviously the journey of life, right? At some point in time, we do expire. How do you, and as you mentioned, you're going into your twilight years, I love the serenity I'm feeling when you say those words, but I feel like a lot of people feel anxious. How did you come to such a serene place?
But for me as a child, I always had a connection to death. So I could see things happening before they happened. So I never lost that feeling about the whole cycle, which most people fear, the unknown, but I've had also near-death experiences, so I got to see the other side in ways that most people don't. So I have a different relationship about life, and I have a different relationship about death, and I have also an understanding about I've been here before because I've traveled in my dreams to other times and places. And I used to paint those pictures. And even sometimes when people have commissioned me to do work, I put things in those paintings that didn't manifest until 10 years later, and then they would see them show up in these pieces. So having that kind of knowing is a little different. So I could say and see things that most people aren't used to. And that was really why I was able to have a different relationship around life and death. And I'm also an advocate, certified advocate on bereavement. I took a class because a friend of mine who used to run the New York City morgue had me do that so I can design the cover of a workshop book that she was doing. And she wanted me to have the experience because she knew that there was something a little different about the work that I was into. And it really gave me a whole different kind of perspective on death. And it's a new beginning, not an ending.
If there's one or two things that you really took out from that bereavement class, do you mind just sharing it with us here in the audience?
I would challenge people to write their own, I will say, dialogue about your journey and your time here. Because when you have to write it yourself while you're still in this living space, it's cleansing, but it's also shedding. So you get to see things about yourself that maybe you were in denial about. And when I took the class, they had us do a presentation of what our exit would look like. And I made mine all about a beginning, all the layers of beginnings, new things I learned, new things I'm doing. And because I wanted to set the tone, it doesn't end. It starts over.
It starts
in
over.
In a new realm.
Yeah.
And when you look at it differently, you find joy, not happiness, but joy in this place that we're in. Because that goes deeper. That's between you and the Creator.
So I'm glad you said joy, not happiness. Talk to me about the difference that you find, because I think people interconnect those words quite often.
Happy is in a moment, and it can be frivolous, it can be spiritual, but it's usually just in a moment. Joy, you can be sad, depressed, and still have joy because it's a spiritual journey that you go to in your space where you're connected to a higher source. And that source can't be taken away because no one can tap into your joy but you and the Creator, because that's where it comes from. Like an umbilical cord is connected. You always have that. We have belly buttons. They're still connected. And if you stay connected to it, you'll always feel that when things happen. And things are always happening because that's how energy moves, right? It has the ability to make things move and grow. And I'm often talking about that because most people think that they have to be happy to have joy. You don't.
You don't. You don't. I love the fact that you brought up the umbilical cord and you still have your belly button. And this is going to sound really weird, but I want to know if anybody else has this sensation too. When you clean your belly button, you get that weird
ticklish
feeling.
The fact that I could finish your sentence.
Exactly, and when I was like, that's what that is. That's reminding me that
it's the center core of your being. That's your life cycle. You were connected to your mother inside. So those feelings that you have, if you stay connected to that cord, you will stay in the ecosystem.
Yes, I love that. I want to go back just because I want to emphasize that we have an action step. I always ask people for an action step. I'm still going to ask another action step. But one that just organically came up was having a dialogue with yourself around what your life's journey has been and what it will be, and what you're thinking about when you get to that point when you expire and have a new beginning. And so I challenge us to do that. It feels like it'll be there'll be joy, but there'll be sadness, there'll be tears, there'll be laughter.
But
I'm sure that's a cleansing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I challenge our audience to go ahead and do that as well. So thank you. Is there any advice that you have specifically for folks who are thinking about being entrepreneurs or artists who are like, I don't really know what my path is? Like, how do I make a living being an artist?
So one of the things that I say to the layman's mind is that you have a purpose, you were given, but you may not have tapped into it. So if you look at something that's not based on cost and some vanity, you have to look at something that you would do, whether it was for free or for pay, and see what are the things that keep coming up that started from the beginning of your journey here and still keep coming back and forth. You always come back to the source. We just don't recognize that a lot of times. And also learn something new and don't be afraid to fail, because that's really how you're gonna grow, is failing all those different moments that you have taken in. Take a class in something that's challenging you. Take yourself on a date in a place that you've never been.
Take yourself on a date. Yes, people don't do that enough. You have to date yourself. I love that. And take a challenging class. I love learning languages. So right now I'm in the middle of trying to learn Russian, which has been kicking my butt. Okay.
Nice, very nice. Because it's challenging the brain muscles.
Yes. And so before we end, and this has been such a beautiful time, I would love for you to just say either one word or a 3-word sentence that you love to leave the audience with.
Red, yellow, blue. Think about where you see those colors.
Okay. Red, yellow, blue. Think about where you see those colors. Thank you so much for being with us for Women Invest in Women. And we really appreciated everything that you have done and for you guys to be here. So we're here in New York City. Okay, we're here in New York City. We are really enjoying ourselves. This is our 3rd city that we've done. We kicked off in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is my ancestral home, during Essence Fest. Then we went to Houston. We've got 3 shows here in New York. We head over to Toronto for Caravana for my Caribbeans. Yes. We love it. Then we come back here to New Jersey for ChemFest, which is a festival that talks about Black Afrofuturism. So we'll be there in Newark, New Jersey. Really excited about that. And then we go to Kingston, Jamaica. So we go to our Caribbean ancestry. Yes, we love our Caribbean diaspora brothers and sisters. And then we take it over to Europe, where we've got 2 cities in Spain, Salamanca and Marbella. That is our tour. Those are our shows. That literally amounts to 8 cities, 5 states, 4 countries, and about 13 episodes for season 1. Women Invest in Women. Let's give it up. Boop, 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 boop. Each one of those shows actually has a live studio audience. It also becomes a TV show that, of course, is coming out to you, as well as a podcast. What's beautiful about Women Invest in Women, which is a manifestation, of what I've been calling. I didn't even know this is what my life's work was all going to be about. And literally 2 months ago, it all came together and it has been ripping and running. People have created an investor platform for us. People have created a global community for us that you can join. All of that is for free because we believe in creating a global economic ecosystem centered around the principles of the diaspora, humanity, and sisterhood. We want to bring back love, empathy, and knowledge sharing as our main forms of currency. And then when we do that, and women are really invested in, the GDP will increase by a minimum of $25 trillion. That's the power of investing in women. Thank you. I can't do it. Oh, okay. And follow us. I'm so bad at the promotional stuff. And follow us at Women Invest in Women on Instagram. You can find us on LinkedIn. We also have a newsletter that we launched 2 or 3 weeks ago that already has about 1,300 subscribers. So thank you, everyone who's been following. Also, for our podcast, we are on all podcast platforms. That's Apple, that's Spotify, that's iHeart. So Women Invest in Women, that's the name. That's where you can always find us. And of course, when we go live on TV, you'll find out all that information if you follow us. And don't forget, you can also join our 10,000 Strong campaign. What's our 10,000 Strong campaign? If we get 10,000 people to donate $99, that's almost $1 billion worth of money that will circulate throughout our ecosystem. We don't just talk about it, we be about it. If you give that $99, then your name goes in the credits, so you're a thank you, you're a supporter of Women Invest in Women and the things that we are trying to do. We appreciate you. Much love and peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to our amazing guests, Miss Aleathia Brown. Also, thank you to our New York City sponsors, John Devoy Restaurant and Bar, Bronx Snacks, and Overlay Capital Build.